Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into something super useful, especially if English isn't your first language. How to do really well in a job interview in English.
That's right. It can feel a bit daunting, can't it? But our goal here is simple. We want to give you clear, slow, and hopefully engaging guidance.
Exactly. To help you feel more confident when you walk into that interview room or, log into that Zoom call.
We'll cover quite a bit. We'll look at the differences between in-person and online interviews, tackle some really common questions with example answers.
Oh, super helpful.
Yeah, and we'll give you some useful English words and polite phrases, plus some important cultural tips for English-speaking places.
And we want you to get involved. We'll have some practice exercises later, but feel free to leave comments, like, subscribe, share this episode if you find it helpful. Help others find it too.
Definitely. Okay, so where do we start? Well, the absolute foundation, everyone agrees on this, is preparation.
Preparation. Why is it so crucial? What makes it the key?
Well, it's not just about calming your nerves, although it does help. Good preparation actually shows the interviewer you're serious. It helps you stand out.
Okay.
And maybe most importantly, it helps you understand what the company really needs so you can show them how you fit in perfectly. It lets you tailor your story.
Tailor your story. I like that. So how do you do that research effectively? What should people look for?
Good question. You need to go beyond just like the front page of their website. Look at their About Us section, their history, their values. What do they care about? Innovation, community. Check out recent news about them, their social media feeds. What are their latest wins? What projects are they excited about? Understanding their culture is huge.
So it shows genuine interest, not just applying everywhere.
Exactly. It shows you've made an effort, that you're actually interested in them.
Makes sense. And what about the job description itself?
Oh, absolutely vital. You need to really dissect it. Pick it apart. Don't just skim it. Focus on the specific skills and tasks they mention. Then your prep work is connecting your own past experiences, your achievements, directly to those points. You want your answers to really hit home because they match what the company's looking for.
Got it. So understand them, understand the job, and then connect your experience directly. That's the tailoring part.
Precisely. That's what makes you memorable.
Okay, let's shift gears. Preparation, done. Now, the interview itself, in-person versus online, they start differently, right? That first greeting.
They do. For in-person, the handshake is often the first physical contact. And it carries weight.
Especially in certain cultures.
Yes. In the USA and Canada, for example, a firm handshake is usually expected. It signals confidence, trustworthiness, respect. You should make eye contact and smile, too.
And Australia.
Similar, firm and quick, with eye contact and a friendly smile. But it varies so much globally.
Tell us more. This is fascinating.
Well, like in Turkey, a really firm grip can seem rude. A softer, longer handshake is friendlier. In Japan, China, the Philippines, often a weaker handshake is preferred, sometimes held longer. France. Quick and light. Thailand often uses the way gesture instead, palms together, a slight bow. Brazil is firm with strong eye contact. Mexico can be quite long, and men might even share a brief hug.
A hug in the interview?
Potentially. Between men, yes. India often uses namaste. In the Middle East, it's usually gentle, and often men don't shake hands with women they don't know. Some African countries might use a limp handshake.
It really shows how important cultural awareness is, even for something that seems simple.
Absolutely critical. Now, for online interviews, say on Zoom or Teams, obviously no handshake.
So what's the alternative?
A friendly wave or a clear nod and a smile works well when you first appear on screen. And importantly, try to look directly at the camera lens when you're speaking.
To simulate eye contact.
Exactly. It helps create that connection, which is harder online.
And the tech setup for online, that must be crucial.
Oh, totally non-negotiable. Test your camera and microphone before the interview. Seriously, do a practice call with a friend.
Good idea.
Make sure your internet connection is stable. And, have a backup plan. Like, know if you need to turn off video to save bandwidth for audio if things get choppy.
What about the setting? Your background.
Find somewhere quiet. Good lighting helps, too. Your background should be neat and tidy, uncluttered. A simple virtual background can be okay if your space isn't ideal, but keep it professional, no beach scenes.
Right. And what should you wear?
Dress professionally, just like you would for an in-person interview, at least from the waist up, since that's what they'll see. But honestly, it's probably better to just dress fully professionally. It helps you feel the part, too.
So, bottom line, being prepared for the format, whether online or in person, just helps lower the stress.
Exactly. And less stress means you can focus on showing them how great you are for the job.
Okay, beyond the greeting, let's talk body language. Nonverbal cues. This seems really important.
It is. Body language, your gestures, facial expressions, how you sit, it's all communication, even without words.
And it's powerful.
Hugely powerful. Some studies suggest it can be like 55% of the message the other person receives. It can support what you're saying or contradict it. So controlling it helps you come across the way you intend.
55%.
Wow.
Okay, so what are the key things to focus on? Posture.
Definitely posture. Sit up straight. Don't slouch. That can look like you're bored or lack energy. Leaning forward just slightly can show you're engaged and interested.
What about hands? Gestures.
Hand gestures can be good for emphasizing points, but, don't overdo it. Avoid fidgeting or touching your face a lot, which can signal nervousness. Keep them natural.
Eye contact comes up a lot too, but it's tricky culturally.
It really is. In many Western cultures, like the US and Canada, making eye contact is seen as confident and honest. A general tip is maybe aim for eye contact about a third of the time when you're speaking, and maybe two-thirds when you're listening.
But that's not universal.
Not at all. Longer, more direct eye contact is quite normal in places like the Middle East and parts of Europe and Latin America, but it's used more carefully in many parts of Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, like Korea, Thailand.
And in some places, avoiding eye contact shows respect.
Yes, especially with people in authority or elders. It's a sign of deference in some cultures. So again, awareness is key. You need to be mindful.
What about how you sit? Anything to know there?
Yeah, a couple of things. Crossing your legs is pretty common in North America and Europe, but in Japan, it might be seen as a bit too casual or even disrespectful, especially towards someone older.
Okay.
And a big one. Avoid showing the soles of your shoes or feet, especially in the Middle East and some parts of Asia. Feet are considered unclean, so pointing them at someone is offensive.
Good to know. Even nodding means different things, right?
You wouldn't think so, but yes. Mostly, nodding down means yes or I agree. But get this. In Bulgaria and Greece, a single nod down means no.
Really?
Yep. And in places like Cyprus, Iran, Turkey, a single nod up can mean no. In India, that little side-to-side head tilt often means, I'm listening actively, I understand. And in Japan, a nod might just mean, I've heard you, not necessarily, I agree with you.
Wow. So many potential misunderstandings just in body language.
It really highlights why paying attention to these nonverbal signals, both yours and theirs, is so important. And being aware of potential cultural differences.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Let's get to the core, the interview questions themselves. How do you tackle the common ones?
Right. This is where preparation really pays off. Knowing what might come up makes it much less scary.
The classic opener. Tell me about yourself. What's the goal here?
It's usually the first question, kind of like your personal introduction, your elevator pitch, but it's not your life story.
Okay, so what should you include?
Introduce yourself briefly, maybe your current role or field. Then highlight, say, 2 or 3 key achievements that are directly relevant to the job you're interviewing for. And make sure you connect your background to this specific role.
Keep it concise.
Definitely. Aim for maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Focus on your career path and main accomplishments. There's a good example we can look at.
Please.
Something like, I'm Cynthia Lee. I graduated in business administration back in 2018. For the last 5 years, I've worked as a project coordinator. See, specific time frame. I'm very organized, and I really enjoy solving problems. For instance, in my last role, I led a team that reorganized our office inventory process. Specific action, which ended up saving about 30% on supply costs each year. Quantifiable result. I'm really excited to bring this experience and my strong organizational skills to your company. Can expect them.
That's a great structure. Specifics, numbers, and connecting it to the new job. Very clear.
Exactly. Okay, next big one. What are your strengths and weaknesses? Everyone dreads this one.
Yeah. How do you handle strengths?
Pick strengths that genuinely match the job requirements. Think teamwork, time management, specific technical skills they've listed, but don't just list them.
Give examples.
Yes. Back each strength up with a brief example or story. Use phrases like, I'm particularly skilled at, or one of my key strengths is. You can even use intensifiers like very or extremely, if it feels natural, to add conviction.
And weaknesses. How honest should you be?
You need to be honest, but strategic. Choose a real weakness, something you genuinely have struggled with. But crucially, pick something that isn't absolutely central to performing the job well.
Okay.
And the most important part is showing how you're actively working on improving it. What steps are you taking? What progress have you made? It's about showing self-awareness and a growth mindset.
Can you give an example for the weakness part?
Sure, something like, well, one area I used to struggle with was delegating tasks effectively. I tended to want to do everything myself, name the weakness. I realized this was actually slowing our team down, explain the impact. So I started working on setting clear expectations up front and learning to trust my team members' abilities more. For example, I began giving junior staff smaller, well-defined tasks, specific action. And I found our overall productivity really improved. Show the positive result. It's something I'm still mindful of, but I've definitely gotten much better at it. Show ongoing effort.
That's brilliant. It turns a negative into a positive by showing how you learned and improved. Very smart.
Exactly. It shows resilience. Okay, another common one. Why do you want to work here?
This is where that company research comes in handy, right?
Absolutely. This question tests if you've done your homework and if you genuinely connect with the company's mission, values, or work. Your answer needs to show that research.
So how do you structure the answer?
You want to align your own values or career goals with the company's mission or goals. Explain why you admire something specific about them. And then, connect your skills and experience to how you can help them achieve their goals. Make it about them, not just you.
Got an example?
How about, I really admire your company's strong commitment to sustainability, which is something I'm passionate about too. Align values. In my previous roles, I gained experience in developing eco-friendly project designs. Mention relevant skill. I saw that this particular position involves working on new green technologies. I'd be thrilled to use my background to help your team innovate in this area and support your company's environmental mission. Connect skill to their goal.
That links everything together perfectly.
Okay.
What about those behavioral questions, like describe a challenge you faced?
Ah, yes, the behavioral questions. They want to see how you act in real situations. They show your problem-solving skills, how you handle pressure, your resilience.
And there's a specific technique for answering these.
Yes, the STAR method is highly recommended. STAR.
Situation, task, action, result.
Exactly. First, describe the situation. What was the context? What was the challenge? Then, explain your task. What was your specific responsibility or goal in that situation? Next, detail the action you took. What specific steps did you take to address the challenge? And finally, describe the result. What was the outcome of your actions? Try to quantify it if you can use numbers.
Can we hear an example using STAR?
Sure. Let's say the question is about overcoming a challenge. Well, in my previous job, we noticed our customer satisfaction scores were starting to drop. Situation. My task was to figure out why and find a way to improve them. I realized our team's response times to client inquiries were too slow. Tasking. So I researched and proposed implementing a new CRM system. I then led the training for the team on how to use it effectively. Action. As a result, we managed to cut our average response time in half within 3 months, and our customer satisfaction scores increased by 20% over the next year. Result? It was a challenging project, but I learned a lot about implementing new systems and the importance of clear communication. Add a little learning reflection, too.
That's so clear and effective. The STAR method really structures the answer well, and the numbers make it concrete.
They really do. Okay, one last big question. Why should we hire you? This feels like the ultimate sales pitch. It kind of is. It's your final chance to really summarize why you are the best fit for this specific job.
So what should you focus on?
Focus on the unique combination of skills, experience, and maybe even passion or drive that makes you stand out for this role. Reiterate your key strengths, but link them directly to the job requirements. Use those examples and quantifiable achievements again.
Be confident, but not arrogant.
Exactly. Confident, clear, concise. Aim for maybe under a minute or two. You're making your closing argument.
Any examples of how to phrase this?
You could highlight passion and abilities like, you should hire me because of my passion for organization and my proven ability to create efficiencies. For example, when I reorganized the office supply system in my last role, I saved the company 30% on supply costs year over year. I'm confident I can bring that same level of impact here.
Nice. Or focusing more on experience.
Yeah, or my experience in managing complex inventory systems makes me a strong candidate. In my previous position, I handled scheduling for a team of 20 employees and successfully reduced food waste by 15% through better inventory control. I believe these skills align perfectly with the needs of this role.
Both examples are direct, provide evidence, and link back to potential value for the company. That seems to be the key theme.
It absolutely is. Make it easy for them to see you as a solution to their needs.
Okay, this is all great advice on what to say. What about how to say it in English? Any vocabulary or grammar tips, especially for beginners?
Definitely. Using the right language makes a big difference. For vocabulary, think about positive adjectives to describe yourself. Words like hardworking, reliable, proactive, meaning you take initiative, committed, trustworthy, or detail-oriented.
And you mentioned intensifiers.
Yes, sometimes adding very or extremely can add emphasis, like I'm extremely organized or I'm a very reliable team member. Use them naturally, though.
What about verbs for describing achievements?
Use strong action verbs. Instead of saying, I was responsible for, say, I managed, I led, I organized, I implemented, I improved, I developed. It sounds much more dynamic.
Good tip. And grammar-wise, politeness is key.
Absolutely essential in most English-speaking interview contexts. Simple things like please, thank you, and excuse me go a long way.
Can you give some specific polite phrases?
Sure. When you arrive or start the call, good morning, afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. If you need to interrupt or if they interrupt you, pardon the interruption or excuse me, please continue, and always at the end, thank you for your time. I really appreciate this opportunity.
What about making requests sound more polite?
Using modal verbs like could, would, and might is really helpful. Instead of can I ask a question, try could I ask a question? It sounds more formal and respectful. Using could, would, and please softens your language.
That's really useful. Okay, pronunciation can be tricky too. Can we practice a few key words? Maybe our listeners can repeat after you.
Great idea. Let's try a few common interview words. Ready? Repeat after me. Time management. Pause. Time management.
Good. How about multitasking?
Okay. MUHL tasking. Pause. MUHL tasking.
Experience.
Experience. Pause. Experience.
Strengths, that the sound can be tough.
Yes. S strengths. Pause. S strengths. Make sure your tongue is just behind your teeth for the
And challenge.
challenge. Practice these slowly.
Great. Maybe some speaking practice too, like fill in the blanks for listeners to try out loud.
Okay, let's try this. Listeners, fill in the blank with a word like excited or eager. I'm really to start this project. Pause. Did you say excited? Eager. Great.
How about practicing a polite request? Try saying this politely. Could I please have a glass of water? Pause. Remember that polite tone.
Good. Or if the interviewer asks you, why are you interested in this position? You could start your answer with something like, I'm excited to your team. Pause. What could you say? Maybe join or work with or be part of. All good options.
Nice. One quick vocabulary quiz for everyone listening. Which of these is a personal trait or quality? A, photography, or B, punctuality? Pause.
The answer is B, punctuality. Punctuality means being on time, which is a quality or trait. Photography is a skill or hobby.
Good distinction. Let's do a quick comprehension check too. Why is it good to say, I appreciate your time at the end of an interview? Pause.
It's to show gratitude, be polite, and leave a positive, professional final impression.
Makes sense. And what are two important things to do before a Zoom or online interview? Pause.
You should definitely test your technology, your camera, your sound, your internet connection. And second, choose a quiet, well-lit, professional-looking space for the call.
Excellent. These practice bits are great. Remember, everyone, you can pause and practice these as much as you need.
Absolutely. Practice really helps build confidence.
Now, we touched on cultural differences with greetings and body language. Can we delve a bit deeper into communication styles, especially for places like the USA, UK, Canada, Australia?
Yes, this is really important. Beyond the body language friendly posture, sitting straight, leaning in, smiling the way people talk can differ.
How so? Let's start with the USA.
In the US, communication tends to be quite direct. It's generally expected that you'll highlight your achievements clearly. There's often an upbeat, optimistic tone. If discussing a problem, people might wrap it in positive language. And self-promotion, talking positively about your skills and successes, is generally expected.
Okay, and the UK.
Often more indirect. Understatement is common. Someone might say something is a bit disappointing when they actually mean they're very concerned. Being too blunt can seem arrogant. There's often more emphasis on leaving space for others' ideas, maybe being slightly more reserved initially.
Interesting contrast. What about Australia?
Can be quite direct, sometimes even blunt, especially once you get past the initial small talk. Aussies can be uncomfortable with overt displays of authority. They might spend a bit more time on non-work chat at the beginning of a meeting, maybe 10–15 minutes, and language can be more informal, though probably less so in a formal interview.
So the advice is to kind of adjust your style.
Subtly, yes. Maybe a bit more polite and formal for the UK, more enthusiastic and confident for the US. Canada is often seen as a mix. Be ready for some initial chat in Australia. But politeness is always key everywhere.
Using please, thank you, excuse me.
Absolutely. And thanking the interviewers personally at the end. Regarding names, in the US and Canada, you might start with titles like Mr. or Miss and last names, then switch to first names if they suggest it. In Australia, it's often first names right from the start.
What about dress code again, culturally?
Generally, dress conservatively unless you know the company culture is very casual. Suits or smart business wear for finance, law, more traditional fields. Business casual, maybe nice trousers or skirt. A smart shirt might be okay for tech or creative roles.
Better to be slightly overdressed.
That's the safe bet, yes. Always check the company website, their LinkedIn profiles, or even ask the recruiter if you're unsure.
And you mentioned work-life balance differences briefly, just as context.
Yeah, just as background. For instance, British work culture often values going home on time more, and they tend to have more generous holiday and sick leave compared to the US. Lateness might be less frowned upon than in Australia, where punctuality is usually important, and leaving right on the dot might also be seen negatively.
And the U.S.
The U.S. culture can sometimes involve expectations of longer hours, and there aren't federal laws requiring paid time off or sick leave, though many companies offer good benefits. But this can also come with potentially higher earning opportunities. It's just part of the different cultural landscapes of work.
Understanding these background nuances can definitely help you get a feel for the potential workplace.
It really can.
So we've covered preparation, nonverbals, common questions, language tips, cultural points. That's a lot. Does role-playing help practice all this?
Oh, immensely. Practicing out loud, maybe with a friend, or even recording yourself is one of the best ways to prepare. You can practice answering those common questions using the STAR method, work on your polite phrases, get comfortable with your tell me about yourself pitch.
For both in-person scenarios.
Right, imagining the handshake, the posture.
And for online interviews, too.
Yes, practicing, looking at the camera, checking your background, testing the tech as part of the role play. It makes it feel much more familiar on the actual day.
Great suggestion. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. We've gone through a ton of useful information today.
We really have. The key takeaways are definitely the huge importance of preparation, researching the company and the role, understanding those common questions and how to structure your answers, especially using STAR for challenges.
And being mindful of your language, using positive words, action verbs, being polite, and your body language, adapting it slightly for cultural context.
Exactly. And remembering those differences between in-person and online formats. Plus, the value of practice, practice, practice.
The main goal through all of this, as we said at the start, is to help you build confidence. Feeling prepared is the biggest step towards feeling confident.
It truly is. Don't worry if it feels like a lot right now. Take it step by step. Practice answering questions using the tips and phrases we discussed. You can do this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, everyone. We really hope it was helpful for your English interview preparation.
Yes, thank you. And please do leave comments if you have questions. Like this episode if it helps, subscribe for more, and share it with anyone else who might benefit.
Your engagement really helps us and helps others on their learning journey.
So as a final thought to leave you with, consider this. All this preparation, tailoring your answers, practicing how you present yourself. It's not just about passing one interview. Think about how mastering this skill, clearly articulating your value and connecting your story to what an employer needs, how that can actually become a tool to help you unlock your bigger career goals in the future. It's a powerful skill beyond just the interview itself.
That's a great point to end on. Focus on the skills you're building. Best of luck with your interviews, everyone. Keep practicing.